Okay, hello everybody. My name is Milen Kovachev. I'm one of the 3 co-founders of nop-templates and Storaco. Storaco is the topic of my presentation today. It is a new service by nop-templates, which I would like to show to you today. First of all, because it is an awesome tool, and we believe it is going to be really useful to online retailers. And second, because I would like to showcase the things that are now possible with nopCommerce, now that we have the nopCommerce web API. Because Storaco is built on top of nopCommerce, and it uses the nopCommerce web API extensively. So if you have seen my talk from last year's Nop Dev Days, you will know that I had more hair. Yeah, see, this is a great disappointment for me because I came all the way here to talk about Storaco, and for the past 2 days, you've been only asking me about my hair. So, yeah, my hair out of the way. Let me focus on Storaco now. So if you have seen my talk from last year's Nop Dev Days, you will know that the 3 of us, the founders of nop-templates, we initially started as online retailers. We were selling snowboarding equipment online. And we chose nopCommerce because it was .NET, and we're .NET developers. And at the time, it was difficult to start with nopCommerce because there were no themes and no extensions, so we had to develop our own theme for the snowboarding shop. We had to develop our own plugins. And then we knew that this problem is going to apply to other users starting with nopCommerce, and this is why we created nop-templates to solve this problem. And since then, nop-templates have helped more than 15,000 stores get off the ground quickly with nopCommerce, and allowing their store owners just to focus on bootstrapping their business. Why am I telling you all this? Well, because I want to tell you that we are awesome. And also, I've been hearing the last few days here, let's make nopCommerce great. We make nopCommerce great. And I say to this, okay, you make nopCommerce great, but we make nopCommerce sexy. And yeah, this is nop-templates with the themes and the plugins. But this was back then. Now we are in a similar situation. We are again facing a problem of our own, which is again valid to other online retailers and to e-commerce in general. And now this problem is more in the context of established shops, of shops that have traction already and that have a customer base. And this problem is about sustaining your revenue when you're already off the ground and when you're already selling. And in our particular case, we have this problem with driving our revenue in a niche market because, let's face it, nopCommerce is a niche market. It's constantly growing, and now with the 4.0 release and with the coming of the .NET Core upgrade, I'm pretty sure in maybe 2 years it will be double the size that it is now. But right now, although we're one of the leading nopCommerce vendors, probably the leading nopCommerce vendor, we're struggling to maintain our customer acquisition rates and to sustain our revenue. This is why recently, 2 years ago, we decided to shift our focus a little bit and focus more on our existing customers rather than on acquiring new customers, do more customer retention than customer acquisition. Now I would like to give you some statistics why this is a good idea. The statistic shows that in e-commerce, it costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. And despite this, almost all online shops and e-commerce businesses are spending more than 80% of their marketing budget on customer acquisition. And why this is wrong? Because existing customers, on average, in e-commerce, spend 67% more than new customers. The probability of you as an online retailer selling to a new customer is between 5 and 20%, while the probability of selling to an existing customer is between 60 and 70%. Out of all your one-time buyers, those customers that have bought from you only once, 20% are very likely to buy from you again. And if you get these people to make the second purchase, then 45% of them are very likely to buy from you again. And if they make this third purchase, then this percent rises to 60. So So as you can see, the more you do customer retention, the easier it gets, and your revenue rises exponentially. Let me give you some more statistics. So the statistic shows that if you retain 1% of your customers, on average, you will be boosting your revenue by 10%, which means that if you manage to retain only 10% of your customers, you will be more than doubling your revenue, which is seen in the graphic here. So focusing on increasing your customers' lifetime value and on doing customer retention is the quickest and most effective way to grow. And now that we have established this, how should we do customer retention? What do we do? Well, common sense will tell us that we need to communicate with our customers effectively, which in the context of e-commerce means that we need to communicate in a more personal way, maybe, to be able to connect with them. And in order for us to do this, we will need all the information we can get about our customers. We will need to know their purchases, their website behavior, what products they're viewing on our website, what categories they're browsing, how much time they're spending reading our blog, where they're from, and so on. Once we have this information, we can make informed decisions, place the right offers in their inboxes, and so on. And this is one of the main features that Storaco has to offer. Storaco has this information about your customers, and it has it on the individual customer level. We call it individual customer tracking. What is even better is that Storaco tracks every visit on your website, regardless of whether it's an anonymous user or a registered customer. So once Storaco can identify your customer, if they log in or register or go through the billing step of the checkout process, it will apply all the historical data to this customer. So you have the complete picture for this customer. For example, if they register today, you will most probably be seeing visits from weeks or months back. And this is something which I would like to demo to you just now. Yeah, as I told you, we make nopCommerce sexy. This is one of our new themes. Okay, this is the Storaco website. And these are the hands of our very talented designer. She did the presentation, by the way. Okay, so this is the Storaco dashboard. Here I have Bricklin Bikes. Bricklin Bikes is one of the biggest bike retailers in the UK. In London, they're probably the most recognizable brand in the urban biking scene. And they're using nopCommerce. Actually, they have a multi-store installation. They have a B2C and B2B website. Here I have their B2C website, bricklinbikes.co.uk. And they have kindly agreed for me to showcase their dashboard. So I have their customers here, which are imported from the nopCommerce web API. And let me find the customer now, someone that I know. This is the customer view in Storaco. We have here the contact details of the customer, some basic statistics, but most importantly, here we have their activity. We have this timeline with sessions, and this is their session from the 11th of November. This is when Bricklin did 2 campaigns. These were their first 2 campaigns. They were sort of experimental. But obviously, this customer converted from this campaign, and they visited a couple of products, added a product to their shopping cart, then another product, then voila, they placed an order. And we can see the order here. We can see their sessions way back. These sessions was when the tracking script wasn't working on their website. They weren't using Storaco at that time. But we had the order from the nopCommerce Web API imported. And you also can see here what products they have viewed, what products they have purchased. We can see their orders. We can see what products they have abandoned, and so on. So this is the individual customer tracking historical. So we have all this information about our customers. We can study our customers in detail, look at their timeline. We are ready to communicate with them, but can we really do this in a one-to-one manner? Can we really afford to communicate with our customers one-to-one? Most probably not. Most probably we wouldn't have the resources to do this. So what should we do in this situation? Well, the answer to us and the solution that Storaco has to offer is customer segmentation. Storaco has the most advanced customer segmentation. It allows the store owner to segment their customers by more than 30 criteria. You can combine these criteria with AND and OR conditions, combine them into groups, and then combine these groups even further. So this gives Storaco really, really powerful capabilities. No other solution on the market has this power when it comes to customer segmentation, not even MailChimp or Campaign Monitor, for example. But before I show you how you can segment your customers in Storaco, let me first discuss some well-known segments in e-commerce so that we have a little bit of context to work with. So in e-commerce, you can use these segments. They're general, very popular. But imagine that you didn't have Storaco and you couldn't get these groups of customers. Then what would you do? Most probably you're going to just blast your whole customer base with one and the same email. Maybe send an offer with 15% discount or something like this. And everybody that wants to buy from you, they're going to use the discount, regardless of whether they're buying on discount or whether they're usually paying full price, whether they're a loyal customer. But let's take the potential buyers. The potential buyers are those customers that haven't bought from you. So you need to make them buy for the first time. What can you do? The first thing that comes to mind, you send them a coupon code with discount. But when you think about it further, you can segment these customers into maybe 2 additional groups. You can have your cold potential buyers, those that haven't expressed interest in your website recently. Maybe they haven't visited your website in the last 3 or 6 months. You also can have your hot potential buyers, those that have visited your website in the last month, maybe more than a couple of times. Of course, with your cold buyers, you're going to spend more effort to try to convert them. You're most definitely going to give them a discount, and maybe it will be a substantial discount. But with your hot buyers, maybe you don't have to hurry with the discount. Maybe you don't have to kill your margins right away. Maybe you can just send them a message with, I don't know, your new products. Maybe this is what they're waiting for. Or maybe you can stress on your unique selling points, your world-class customer service, or your return policy, or money-back guarantees. Maybe you can offer them free shipping. So I am giving you this example just to show you how customer segmentation can help you to optimize your marketing strategy and help you to optimize your revenue. Let's take the one-time buyers. One-time buyers are those customers that have already trusted you. They have already bought from you. Your goal is to make them buy from you again. What can you do? Maybe you shouldn't hurry with the discount again. Maybe you can just send them a message asking them for feedback, how their shopping experience was, or how is their product, their purchase. If they respond positively, then maybe you can ask them to, I don't know, to write a review for you on social media or on Google. And then in return, give them a discount or something. So I am giving you an example of how you can warm up the communication, use this segment and warm up the communication with your customers. And once you have this personal touch, then it will be much, much easier to make them buy from you. Your loyal customers, they're a whole different story. All you need to do with them is to make sure that you treat them in a special way and Also to make sure that they know they're treated in a special way. And here I'm going to give you a personal example. I shop quite often from this website. They're a German shop, quite big one. I've been with them for many years now. And what these guys do, they send me free stuff all the time, like free beanies, free socks, snowboard wax, tools, whatever. The best thing that they do, they send me 20% off on top of their sale items. And they have a myriad of sale items. So several times a year, I get this huge deal, and every time I spend a lot of money on their website. They manage to convert me every time. And obviously, I'm a loyal customer because I have no problem showcasing their website here for free. Of course, I'm expecting 40% next time, but for now, it's for free. So this is just an example of how customer segmentation can help to get to know your customers and to optimize your marketing strategy and to boost your revenue. And now, I would like to show you how you can do customer segmentation in storage. Let me delete this one because this is the demo one. Okay, so here I have the various segments that they have defined already. Let's create a new segment. So I would like to get all the potential buyers of Bricklin Bikes, and I would like to get these hot potential buyers. And let's say that I'm the marketing guy, and hot buyers for me means that they have visited my store more than 2 times in the last month. So I'm dragging this segment here. I will configure it just quickly. So the segment is ready. I have my customers, well, up to this point at least, 477 customers. So what else can we do to get a more specific group of these customers? If you think about it, maybe those customers that registered in the past few days, maybe they haven't visited the website 2 times or more than 2 times. So let's bring in these customers too. So I'm dragging this segment now with an OR condition here. On top of the floating interval here, which is from now back on, we also have a fixed interval that we can use with specific dates. Let's say I want the customers that register this week. Save the segment, generate it. So now I have almost 100 customers more. And of course, I want to make sure that these customers haven't bought from me. So I'll drag the bought nothing segment here. And let's say that if they didn't buy from me in the past 12 months, then maybe they have never bought from me. Okay, now I'm going to demo the drag and drop. Yeah, generate again. Now we have 180 customers. So this is a fairly well-defined and specific group of customers. And I can create my campaign. I just click create campaign. I can exclude customers from other campaigns in the past. This is going to be my subject. We have the weekend campaign parameter, then go to Google Analytics here. And now I would like to just quickly demo the email editor, just so that you can see how quickly you can build your email in Storyco. These are the various layouts that you can add. So I'll just format this text very quickly. Position the logo. Maybe I can add a background here. Position this text so that it looks better. Add another layout, then add some more content. Then I can add a two-column layout. Add some text in the first column, then add another image here. Maybe this will be my coupon code. Position this image. Make it black too. I can add a button here. And so on and so forth. I can add products if I want. Let me first add a two-column layout. Try and add two products. Maybe two bikes. Yeah, and I can further format this to look nice. Here's the final template. I have it saved here. Actually, this is the template of the actual campaign. This is how it looks like. This is also a very nice widget that we have here for the social media. You can add new ones, configure them, rearrange them. You can change the styling if you want. You can see it's powerful and it's very you can create it. Once I have my email, I can schedule it, and I can schedule it to run at a specific time as soon as possible. I can send a test email. and after that I can preview my campaign and I'm ready to send it. So I'm waiting for the preview. Maybe the socket died. So this is how you can create a campaign historical with your customer segments. But you don't have to create these one-off campaigns every time you need to talk to your customers that have just fallen into your segment, those newly eligible customers for your potential buyer segment or whatever. You can automate all these campaigns so that they can run on autopilot for you. This is my next demo. So you have the one-off campaigns and you also have the automated campaigns. Here we have the purchase follow-up, abandoned product. Let me delete this one. Stop here. These are the triggers of the campaign, which I'm going to go back to in a minute. But most importantly, here in the automated campaign, you have again the segmentation, and you can create the same segment that we just did with the one-off campaign. I'm not going to do this now. I'll just wait so that I can reach some parameters so that I can go to the end. Because I wanted to show the schedule. You can schedule the campaign to run on specific dates, specific days of the week, like here, or else send it only between a specific time of the day. Test it, send it, etc. And once you schedule this campaign, Historical will start maintaining all these segments for you and triggers if you have, and it will send the messages based on your schedule. The triggers are seasonal events that you have in Historical which can trigger the automated campaign. Right now we have these events here. Abandoned product, order created, order completed, and when a customer registers. These events are very, very effective so that you can set the campaign right away when something happens in the website. So the important thing here is that you can combine these events with the segmentation. For example, if I am to send a cart abandonment email every time somebody abandons their shopping cart, I might choose to send this email only to a certain subset of my customers. Let me give you an example. Your loyal customers, for example. Do you need to send them a cart abandonment email with a coupon code or something? Most probably not, because they are your loyal customers. They are very likely to buy from you anyway. They're most probably using their shopping cart as a list or something. At least I do. So maybe you can just send this email to your potential buyers, maybe to your one-time buyers, because you can add your one-time buyers to the segment, which makes it really powerful to automate your marketing efforts. And this is how the historical dashboard looks like right now. We will be adding more channels, more marketing channels. We will be adding the Facebook Messenger next, because we hear that Facebook Messenger converts much more than email nowadays. We will also be adding AdWords and SMS. So if you subscribe to Historical, you can count that you're going to receive a really powerful solution. And now I would like to talk about the technical part. How many of you are store owners here? Store owners? Okay, you can leave now if you want. I'm kidding. Nobody laughs at my jokes today. It was different last year. Okay, so this is how Storaco looks on the inside. First of all, Storaco is deployed in AWS. It follows a serverless distributed architecture. Every component in Storaco is replicated at least several times, so you have no single point of failure, and you have a very easy way to scale the system. So the system can really scale infinitely, depending on our budget, of course. At the top here, we have the various inputs to the system. First of all, we have the store database, which gets imported into Storaco when a store is connected. Then we have our web tracking script, which is set with the nopCommerce plugin that we have. This web tracking script is very similar to the Google Analytics script. It loads asynchronously with every request on the website. It processes various information related to the current customer, to the page view, if it's a product category. It records the time on site, the previous page views, the time between the previous page views. It also knows whether you're adding or removing something from your shopping cart, and so on. Once it has all this information, it builds huge query strings, constructs 1-pixel images, and adds these images to the DOM. These images are not real images. They point to our web tracking API, and they just hit our web tracking API with all this information, and this information flows down further into the system. We have our store webhooks that come from the nopCommerce web API when an order is created or customer registers, etc. These go to our store webhook API. We also have our email webhooks. These come from our email service. They have to do with email opens, clicks, all these statistics that we need in the campaign reporting. For our email service, just so you know, we use Mailgun. A couple of people asked me yesterday why we use Mailgun. Honest answer, because our friends at Telerik recommended it to us. They said, we're using Mailgun, you should consider it, and we just use it. And you should know that Mailgun are a service by Rackspace, so it is a proper mailing service, and it's cheaper than MailChimp's Manager if you're considering any of these. And finally, we have our Angular dashboard, which constantly talks to our dashboard API. Our API layer, all of it is written in Node.js, except for the dashboard API. All the other APIs are very lean. They do minimal processing. Most of the actions just write a message into the message broker or do a quick write into the database. We keep it very lean, although every instance is replicated several times, and we have, with our deployment, we can just push a button and bring more instances to make it scale immediately. And when you have this sort of replication, you will need a load balancer. We have the Elastic Load Balancer from AWS running on top of our API. When you have a load balancer, you're going to deal with tricky situations. For example, we had a hard time synchronizing our sockets. We use Socket.io for our sockets. And for this purpose, we have used the Elastic Cache, which in our case is Redis, to cache the sockets and to be able to synchronize them. The Elastic Cache is a service that comes out of the box with AWS. It's really straightforward to use. You don't have to care about the server instances, distributing the cache or anything. In the middle of this whole architecture, we have our message broker, which is SQS, again a service by AWS. Our message broker is this sort of pivotal component that orchestrates the whole communication between the various components. Everything, almost everything that flows in the system goes to the message broker. The message broker is this resilient queue of messages. It's maintained by AWS. You cannot lose a message there, and you have various means to manage the messages there to, for example, take them, return them back into the queue, schedule them, etc. You can even trigger other components based on messages in the queue. And our backend layer is divided into two types of layers. We have the EC2 layer. EC2 is just the AWS term for a server instance. And we also have the AWS Lambda layer. Here we have probably 15 or 20 lambdas. And the AWS lambdas are the only reason we chose AWS over Azure at the time, because when we started developing Storaco, Azure didn't have the Azure functions, which they have now. And this was a deal breaker for us, because these lambdas, they have saved us probably thousands of dollars. Because for every component here, we would have had to have server instances running all the time and paying for them all the time, while the lambdas are just code that gets loaded in AWS, executes, and gets destroyed. And it's really cheap and really cost effective. Why do we have these two layers and not have only the AWS lambdas? Well, we have the EC2 layer with the server instances because we have components that process a lot of information all the time, like our web tracking data gathering component. This component reads the queue that comes from the messages that come from the web tracking script, from the message broker, and processes these messages all the time, and this queue is always full and always there are lots of messages there because every event on the website goes into this queue. And the AWS lambdas, they're actually more for batch processing. They don't have to execute all the time. We don't have to pay for computing power all the time. For example, we have our data import lambda. It is fired automatically when a certain type of message goes into the message broker. And it just reads the data from the nopCommerce web API and imports it into the system. At the bottom, we have our database, which in our case is Cassandra. How many of you are familiar with Cassandra? Okay. For those of you who are not familiar with Cassandra, Cassandra was the prophet that spelled the doom of the Oracle. So I don't know if, but yeah, Oracle is not dead yet, but Cassandra is a proper NoSQL database. Every node in the data in Cassandra is actually distributed over several nodes. We have, I think, 6 nodes running with Cassandra. The data is also replicated according to your replication factor. In our case, it's 3. So every set of data is replicated at least 3 times. Of course, being a NoSQL database, this means that, at least in the case of Cassandra, this means that you're going to query only by a primary key and by a clustering key, which pretty much means querying only by key. And this is going to make your data model extremely hard. There are whole books how you should do your data modeling on top of Cassandra. You need to think also about sharding your data so that you don't choke the instances, etc. But the important thing is that with Cassandra, you have no single point of failure because you don't have a master-slave architecture here. Every node is equal. And you also get extremely fast writes and extremely fast reads. These happen in the range of microseconds. We are not talking about milliseconds here. And there's one last component that I would like to mention. On top of our segmentation processing, we have the Apache Spark layer. There is a service in AWS out of the box, Apache Spark. And if you're not familiar with Apache Spark is a way to do distributed computing over several server instances. In our case, sometimes we have to load the whole set of customers so that we can do aggregations and stuff. We do this with Apache Spark so that we can distribute all this computing over several instances, because otherwise we are most probably not going to have enough RAM if we do it on one instance. So this is really, really effective. And as you could see, the segments are really being processed quickly. And it has a very good integration with Cassandra. It runs on the Cassandra instances, and it has data locality, so it knows to fetch only the data that is available in a certain instance, so that it doesn't fetch data between the instances and slow down your processing. And I have to tell you that all this backend is written in Java, And the reason we did this is because we have better tooling with Java, like the Apache Spark and all the other things that are in the ecosystem. Next, I would like to briefly just show you some of the workflows in Storaco so that you have an idea how the information flows and how everything works together. For example, our store connection workflow, when a store is connected to Storaco, a message is added to the message broker, then this message triggers our data import lambda, then the data import lambda fetches all this information from the nopCommerce web API into Storaco. Then our DNS preparation kicks in. We prepare the DNS records for the store owner so that they can send emails from Storaco. We use a service out of the box in AWS, so this is not too hard to do. But the hard part here is that we need to identify all the bots into the stores, because Bricklin Bikes, for example, they didn't have their capture for a year or something, and they have something like 15,000 bots. And we cannot afford to send emails to bots because we immediately get a warning from Mailgun and they take our servers down. So we have our email rating component, which runs continuously. It pulls the whole list of customers and it starts looking at their emails and rating them. It uses an n-gram classification with machine learning. And right now it succeeds 80, almost 90% of the time to identify an email as a bot or as a valid email. Of course, we use other shortcuts, like we look at the domains and stuff like this. And for those emails that we cannot be sure about, we have our email validation component that also kicks in as part of the data import, and that starts talking to the mail servers. It starts querying the mail servers for specific emails, and this is 100% way to determine if an email is valid or not. So every email in the system is identified as a bot or not. And we just send emails only to valid customers. Here we have our store webhooks, which come from the nopCommerce web API. When a webhook hits our webhook API, the webhook API just does a quick write into Cassandra. It records the data into Cassandra. And then we have our webhook data processing component. It's actually a Lambda which processes this data in Cassandra and distributes the data through the various tables, like the tables with the product views, spent amount, purchase products, etc. So we have sort of ready data views to do the segmentation. And we also have our automated segment processing component, which prepares the automated segments for every store owner so that the automated campaigns can fire based on an event from the nopCommerce web API. Because when a customer purchases something, for example, they might become eligible for a message in your automated campaigns. And this component makes sure that they receive these messages based on your scheduling. And finally, I would like to show you our web tracking workflow. We have our web tracking script that I already described to you. Our web tracking API, all it does is convert the query string into JSON, and it writes this JSON into the message broker. Then our web tracking data gathering component, which works all the time, it takes this JSON from the message broker and it constructs a visit record, and it writes it in Cassandra. So in Cassandra, we have this sort of second queue, which has all the visits of all the store owners. And then we have our web tracking data processing, which is actually a Lambda. It processes this queue in Cassandra, and it turns these visit records into sessions, the sessions that you just saw in the timeline of the customer. And here, again, we have our automated segment processing. The final slide has to do with our deployment. Our code is in GitHub. Our continuous integration service is Jenkins. We use Packer to provision the AWS images. We have Ansible running on the AWS images. For example, when we're bootstrapping a Cassandra node. There's certain things that needs to be done immediately on startup so that the node can join the cluster without any problems. And we achieve this with Ansible. And yeah, so it goes through this whole process. And finally, we have AWS image ready to fire and to extend the whole cluster. So this historical on the inside and on the outside. The important thing is that we have a lot of data coming into Cassandra, and we can do machine learning now on top of this data. And the next thing that we're going to do is to provide product recommendations in the emails so that you can recommend products automatically with your messages. And then we're going to do widgets in nopCommerce that you can place on your web pages, and you get automatic product recommendations. So historical is your way to know your customers better, to target them better, and ultimately to be better than your competitors and drive your revenue. That's it. Thank you for listening. I'll take any questions now.